deal with racism. And as they saw protests popping up across the country after they saw what happened to George Floyd, they felt like this store, Dixie Outfitters, was an easy change they could make to change and make their community and their view less racist. The people on this side, they tell us, they say that they are not racist. They say they are here because of freedom of speech, and they think people have the right to shop at this store, to carry that flag. We did see one man on this side with a swastika tattoo on the back of his neck. I asked one of those protesters who said that he was not racist what he thought of that. He said that person didn't represent all of them, but he believed he had a right to have that tattoo, to wear that sign, just like he believes they have the right to shop at this store and carry those flags. The protesters on this side of the street, the Black Lives Matter protesters, they say that this store needs to close, and they feel like they can actually get that done and get it done soon. The mayor did issue a proclamation last week condemning hatred of any kind. This is a big tourist area, Alicia. They need people to come here. 10,000 people live here year-round, but millions of people come to Branson to go to their stores, to go to their rides. So people are hoping that at least, if it's not just the humanity, that the money aspect will force this store to go and things to change in this community. Alicia?
Allison Barber in Mans, Missouri, thank you so much. Up next, we're following the rise of cases of COVID-19 in several states across the South. And breaking this afternoon, the vice president has canceled campaign stops in 2 of those states. We'll tell you about that next. Plus, will Congress take up a new coronavirus relief package before they head home for the summer? You're watching MSNBC.
Protesting oppression, inequality, and systemic racism.
I believe that the historic principles of this country, including not only my great-great-grandfather, but George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, have a tremendous historical presence of this country. And if we have the intestinal fortitude to learn it and not be ignorant of it and appreciate that history, then going forward, we'll know that entire history, and then we, as individuals, anyone can make up their own mind as to what is right and what is wrong and what needs to be done and what does not have to be done.
Do you understand where the protesters are coming from?
I absolutely do, but I think the protesters don't have a clear understanding of the history of this country, and because they're listening to things that may or may not be true about, or capturing one phrase in a history book, Jefferson Davis elected president of the Confederacy, which to them means that he created slavery and a few other things, then they don't have an understanding of the history of this country. We need to keep our history and learn it.
I want to read you something and just get your reaction. This is from a woman in an opinion piece on the New York Times who writes, "You want a Confederate monument? My body is a Confederate monument. The black people I come from were owned and raped by the white people I come from. Who dares to tell me to celebrate them?" This is Caroline Randall Williams. She says, "I have rape-colored skin. My light brown blackness," she writes, "is a living testament to the rules, the practices, the causes of the Old South. If there are those who want to remember the legacy of the Confederacy, if they want monuments, well then, my body is a monument. My skin is a monument." What's your reaction to that?
I think she has her own personal opinion and viewpoint of where she is and who she is. I also believe, as one of your reporters actually said, that it is important for us to capture the entire history, to have a clear understanding of the entire history of this country from all perspectives, not from just one.
Your state of Mississippi is in the process of passing a bill to change or to remove the flag in that state that has the Confederate emblem, the last state in the country with a symbol like that in its state flag. The governor says, "Send me the bill and I will sign it this weekend." Yesterday he was saying it should be the voters to make that decision. What's changed in the past 24 hours?
I can't tell you what the politics of Jackson have been or why he's changed his mind, but I can tell you that as long ago as 5 years ago, I wrote an op-ed saying exactly the same thing that's happening today. That battle flag has been hijacked. It does not represent the entire population of Mississippi. It is historic and heritage related. There are a lot of people who look at that way, and God bless them for that heritage. So put it in a museum and honor it there or put it in your house. But the flag of Mississippi should represent the entire population. And I am thrilled that we're finally going to make that change.
Bertram Hayes Davis, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your perspective.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope you'll ask me back.
Thank you. Up next, breaking news concerning President Trump's controversial rally in Tulsa, where multiple staffers ended up testing positive. There are now reports that the campaign took steps to pack people in even tighter and closer together. More on that next.
Duluth battery. This is a special moment in America. I call it our modern day Emmett Till moment, where more Americans, as a result of watching the death of George Floyd on video, it's a modern moment where our nation together can see the outrage and the pain that many blacks have been suffering from for decades. I've called for corporate America to take action and to get off the sideline. This is, as a state treasurer, I have a front row seat to Wall Street. I understand the power that corporate America holds and the unique role that they have played. There have been instances where they've been constructive. When we look at the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, the economic boycott contributed. When we look at North Carolina and the so-called bathroom bill and the response of corporate America, that contributed to eliminating that. And right now, my call to corporate America is to get off the sidelines, to be engaged, to use your special power and privilege in society, and to play a constructive role in long-term sustainable change. We have to address police reform, and that's critically important, but it goes far beyond that, and I know you've talked about it. We have to look at economic disparities. We have to look at healthcare disparities. We have to look at housing disparities. We have to look at educational disparities. These are all things that corporate America can play a constructive role in. And as a treasurer and a father of 2 black boys, I want them to do that for the future of our country and for our economy.
Now, I also have heard you address that they should not just give philanthropy, like they can just throw money at a problem, but be involved in the communities and how they do business, how they do contracts, who manages their money. They should set the example themselves. I've heard you raise this.
Absolutely. I think it is a mistake to treat this as a moment to just write a check and be absolved of 400 years in American history of not sufficiently addressing systemic racism. And so we have to do more. And for corporate America in particular, we have to look at this as the business, economic, and financial crisis that it is. An economist from Goldman Sachs is on record as saying, if we do not address systemic racism in our country, we will harm our economy and our financial markets. And so this is the message that I'm delivering. And to your point, it's twofold. You have to look in the mirror. And in my conversations, and there's been a great response to my outreach to CEOs, those conversations have been about looking in the mirror and starting there and saying, what can we do better within our corporations, from our corporate boardrooms and C-suites to our pipelines programs.
I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm out of time. But I think that's a great message. Thank you, Connecticut State Treasurer Sean Wooden. Up next,
thank you, Reverend
final
Al.
thoughts. Stay with us.
Chocolate mousse. You can get your complete Spurtle set today.
She was and is to this day an adventure. She's a truly, truly unique personality. She's an event. She would have been a star elevator operator. She's just a very unique, interesting person who you want to see more of.
Call it star power. Call it charisma.
She's an icon. She's a part of our culture.
Like Cher's famous belly button, we all know it when we see it.
My belly button was insured. No, who's going to take it? I mean, it's not about the belly button.
We see it in Cher, and we believe.
one foot on the banana peel, because I'm doing it because I want to have this last time to entertain people, because I won't do it again, because at some point I won't be able to, and I really want, I'm not finished.
You heard the saying about what you see is what you get. Well, in this dress, what you think you see is more than what I've got.
Introducing the best of Cher, exclusively from Time Life. Now, for the first time ever, the stunning scope of Cher's sensational life on stage is available in one exclusive collection.
And covered by our 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Get the right part for...
Cher has delighted audiences for decades, and now...
Put stickers on every other chair throughout the arena, thousands of these stickers. The president and his team were determined to have a packed event. We now know it was not packed. And campaign officials, campaign volunteers went throughout the arena and took the stickers down. You can see in our story, we have a brief video. We have 15 seconds, and you can watch them removing the stickers one by one from the chairs of the arena. The stickers were designed to say, please don't sit here. They were designed to keep people at least a few feet from each other, but they were removed that afternoon.
Stands watch over your home and family.
Plus, 2 off-the-wall specials from Cher's TV.
40, unique eugenics, total tea, and she'll like it too.
Tech City.
I want you to say, I'll never be hungry again.
I'll never be hungry again, and neither will my little sister Cher.
And all her greatest...
The company that owned the arena wanted him to do more, and they got pushback from the Trump laws.
And quickly, if you will, do you know what this means as far as those waivers everybody had to sign? Could there be actually now legal action taken against the campaign?
I don't think so. I mean, the waiver said that if you come to the arena, you accept all risks for coronavirus. Now, lawyers might debate whether those are actually workable, enforceable, or whether those will stand scrutiny in court. I mean, it would take lawyers to debate that. But the rallygoers who came in the arena on it did not expect any sort of do something. I mean, I talked to a number of folks who were at the arena, and they were fine sitting next to each other. It was more the
to be extolling, exalting, and praising, and using as symbols that you would want your children to look up to. Flags of people that tried to overthrow your government, and flags and statues of people that fought to keep people enslaved because of the color of their skin. That is why, as we continue to fight to protect the right to vote and continue to deal with policing, Martin Luther King III and I are mobilizing many to come on the anniversary of Dr. King's March on Washington, August 28th, because we've made a lot of progress in the 57 years since that march, but we have a long way to go. And we need to say to the national government that the Senate is now sitting around playing with the police reform bill. And we need to say to those like the president that would defend these statues of Confederates who are guilty of treason. The only reason they're in history is they want to overthrow the government and keep people slaves. We need to say to them, this is not what makes America great. Making America great is to live up to what America's supposed to stand for. We will make it great. Not again, but we will make it great for the first time for everybody. That does it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Up next, my colleague Richard Louis picks up our news coverage.
Lord, Lord.
Watch it go to work.
These are all the best shows, concerts, comedy, and more from America's all-time queen of the stage.
I guess it's meant to be forever, you and me, after all.
Share the love.
She walked through a war zone, growing ill. Or the the most vulnerable.
Finds at a price to match on your schedule. You get free 2-day shipping on the things that make your home
63 cents a day. Refugee children. Trauma. Anna has
Never worked, giving my viewers every tool I can to help them succeed. I'm there for them with insight from experts and small business owners, people who can help you get to the next level.
Fox Business, invested in. Everyone has stuff they don't use. Stuff other people really want. Download Mercari and sell those things right from your home. It's fast, it's easy, and you can make a little money. Sell and buy almost anything from home with Mercari.
Always stay humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from no one. Don't hold a grudge or a chip, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind.
Everyone has stuff they don't use. Stuff other people really want.
Now, a moment of wonder from Brit.
Congratulations, Frank. Hey, Andy, John, you guys look great. Hey, I feel great too. Ever since you told me about Rejections Total T, I'm crushing my workouts. Thanks to Rejections, I got more energy, more stamina, feeling years younger.
From the brand that brought you GNC's #1 vitality product and product of the year, new Nugenix Total T is our most powerful man-boosting formula ever.
On the legs, but it's also to train your mind. One of the hardest workouts we do would be climbing the coconut tree. To look down, knowing that nothing's holding you. You gotta kind of have this warrior mindset as like, you know, that this is what I want, you know, I'm gonna get this. It's my passion, and I look forward to seeing where hula takes me in life.
You need Nugenix Total T, and she'll like it too.
Text CITY to 369-369 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T.
Complimentary.
Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of new Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. That's CIT1.
Well,
And
looks
newsroom,
like
thanks for being here. I'm Anna Cabrera in New York. We
we're
began
on
in
a roll.
Florida this hour in what some believe could be the next epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic. The state hitting another new peak today, reporting more than 9,500 of new cases.
Jesus.
The mayor of Miami-Dade County announcing he will close beaches ahead of the 4th of July weekend.
Jesus.
And even with the surging numbers, Governor Ron DeSantis is doubling down on his decision not to mandate everyone wear a mask in public.
Their reopening plan. So are new lockdowns coming, and will they help stop the surge? Former New York Times reporter Alex Branson has been looking at four. We have Fox team coverage following the social unrest across the country. Claudia Cowan is in Seattle. Aisha Husney is in New
Social
York.
unrest.
But we begin with Lucas Tomlinson live from Lincoln Park in the nation's capital. Lucas.
John, all is calm here on Capitol Hill. A light rain has begun falling. The statue of Abraham Lincoln and that freed slave remains intact. President Trump has called for 10 years in prison for any would-be vandals who deface or destroy any monuments. His Interior Secretary wants to end the violence.
We're a nation of laws, we're a nation of order, we're a nation of regularity, and you don't get to go up and start self-executing to tear down a monument. Most of these monuments were placed with acts of Congress, with deliberation, and they are not just simply torn down because some person thinks that that would be a good idea.
The commanding general of D.C.'s National Guard has 400 soldiers on alert to be on standby if needed.
They won't be successful. The United States Park Police, the Metropolitan Police Department, and the men and women of the District of Columbia National Guard will protect these monuments and statues.
While all is calm here, a few hours south of D.C. in Richmond, Virginia, rioters and vandals launched fireworks at police officers, as seen here from body cam video released by the police department. One bystander was struck with fireworks. Richmond PD says at around 10:30 last night, a mob was ordered to leave the Robert E. Lee Monument due to paintballs being fired at police officers. At least one officer was struck. Back here in the nation's capital, D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser has called for peace, not mob rule. If D.C.'s non-voting delegate to Congress, Eleanor Holmes Norton, has her way, this statue showing Abraham Lincoln with a freed slave at his feet will also be coming down soon. Norton says even though freed slaves paid for this statue in 1876, she said it was done without their input. Yesterday, the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives voted in favor of D.C. becoming a state for the first time in history. And in New Jersey, Princeton University says it will get rid of the name Woodrow Wilson on its public policy school because of his racist views. John?
Lucas Tomlinson in Lincoln Park in Washington, D.C. Lucas, thanks. Coming up tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern, Fox.
But it's up to more than 190,000.
Trump and dives deep into America's history and what it means for our country today.
If you don't understand your history, you will go back to it again. They're going to forget about it. It's okay. Now, what I do like, I like the idea of building new statues to people, to great people, people that have done something. And I think that's okay. Right. But you don't want to take away our heritage and our history.
Brian Kilmeade's Fox Nation series. All right, that's right. And the average age of those who test positive is falling. I think it's fallen a couple of months from 65 in Florida down to 35 or
with all
because of the pandemic?
The pandemic and also Black Lives Matter.
Talk about intelligence, but we just got a new statement from Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary, saying the U.S. receives thousands of intelligence reports a day and they are subject to strict scrutiny, but adding that the president was not briefed on these alleged Russian bounty intelligence. They're not disputing whether or not this intelligence exists or whether it was true, but suggesting that the president himself was not briefed on it. That's actually raising more questions than answers at this time. If U.S. officials did have information suggesting Russia was paying militants to kill Americans, that would be tantamount to an act of war. There would be questions about why they did not brief the president on that. We just saw a tweet from Susan Rice, the former national security advisor in the Obama administration, responding to the White House saying Trump wasn't being briefed by saying, "I don't believe this for a minute." Susan Rice going on to say if it were true, it means Trump's not even pretending to serve as commander-in-chief, and no one around him has the guts to ask him to. Richard?
What might be next on this, Josh? You watch, of course, all sides of Washington, D.C. and the Beltway here. What might happen out of the House, out of Congress, based on this reporting coming out of the New York Times?
Well, suffice it to say, the usual Democratic critics of the president are very outraged about this, but we're also seeing concern from senior Republican members of Congress as well, including the top.
To my viewers, this is a very, very important situation. If you'll read right here, it says, orders Millen to kill U.S. troops. Our intel says. Now, how much more seriously you want to get than that? Military bounties. In other words, you put a bounty on somebody's head, now you got headhunters. You got headhunters that, for a certain amount of money, if you can bring in that head, they get that money. Headhunters. And we're not talking about headhunters as far as getting out here and finding somebody with a good, decent job. That's a different type of headhunter. A matter of fact, headhunters, literal headhunters, still exist in certain parts of the world. To where you got barbaric, heathenistic, tribal groups out there that will take somebody's head off in a New York heartbeat just because they're at the wrong place at the wrong time. Or you take the Taliban, that if they can't convert you over to their way of religion, and turn you into one of their converts, they'll cut your head off. So headhunters is not unusual, but to have prices on headhunters, this is barbaric. This is cold.
Republican on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman McCall from Texas, he says he's very concerned about these reports if they're true. He's reached out to the White House. He wants to talk to the Trump administration about what they're going to do about this if true, calling on the administration to take swift and decisive action against Russia if it turns out that it's true that Russia was trying to entice militants to kill Americans.
And then finally, Josh, it was a busy week in Congress, as we are talking about Congress. And this is how they're moving forward on ideas about reforming police procedures. And that is now up to the Senate now, is it not? What might happen next week?
Well, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of optimism at the moment that the Senate and the House are going to be able to bridge their significant differences on this issue. The House, controlled by Democrats, passed a very ambitious bill banning chokeholds, moving on qualified immunity and other issues. The Senate bill does not do most of those things. Now, of course, it's usual to have differences between the House and Senate. Usually there's a...
The mom's not a whole lot further behind. And, you don't want to put these people at risk. But what we've seen lately, too, Anna, the numbers are going down in terms of...
Including lymphoma and blood clots have happened. Taking a
action lawsuit basically alleging of the very same thing that was announced Wednesday night. And John, still no response to either of these lawsuits by any of Seattle's city leaders. Back to you.
Claudia Cowan in Seattle. Claudia, thank you. A federal appeals court rules against the Trump administration's transfer of military funds to build the president's border wall, calling it unlawful. This as a federal judge orders the release of migrant children being kept in family detention centers. Christina Coleman.
There are times when our need to connect really matters, to keep customers and employees in the know.
In the House yesterday on coronavirus, and Republican members of the panel were not wearing masks, despite the Capitol's physicians' guidance to do so. And that deeply upset the House Majority Whip, James Clyburn, who threatened to cancel in-person meetings if the rules weren't going to be followed. Listen to this.
I grew up believing that the first sign of a good education is good manners. I think it's good manners to look out for your fellow. Then I see all the staff wearing masks. I don't know what this is.
Some members of Congress still won't wear a mask. The president won't wear a mask. What example is that setting?
It's a bad example. That's the wrong thing to do. Representative Clyburn has it right. Basically what he's saying is...
Vaughn, as you look at the data that's coming out right now, the reporting is close to 50% of these cases that we're talking about are what is being called young people in that age group, whatever that might be. And how would you fill that out? Why and where are we seeing these concentrations of these young people that are being reported on in terms of the spikes?
Richard, Arizona is open for business. Restaurants and retail are all still open. The water park is open. Everything is essentially open. And so that is where what people are hearing from the governor's office is that, livelihoods are at stake. Go out, be smart, and be safe. At the same time, ever since May 15th, when the state stay-at-home order expired, you have seen these streets busy. The freeways are busy. Retail, restaurants are busy. Some of these restaurants can try to socially distance. At the same time, they're also trying to bring in customers, and there is frankly a demand. And that is why you are seeing 50% of those numbers are 20-year-olds to 44-year-olds. They're continuing to be out and about. I've been here in Arizona throughout the course of this COVID pandemic hitting the state, and essentially this feels like any normal June day around here. The governor pled with the people of Arizona on Thursday to be safe, wear masks, to stay at home. But I think we're past that point. Look at Tuesday, earlier this week. The governor was at a rally with more than 3,000 people. Hardly anybody wearing masks. There was no social distancing. And that is why you see a crisis here in the state, particularly when it comes to testing.
You can't just pull up into a parking lot and get tested here in the state, Richard, if you want. This is Arizona State Fairgrounds. They do about 1,000 a day, but that's it. I mean, we're in the dead heart of the afternoon. I want to introduce, if I could, to Daryl Brandt. He was one individual I met this morning who was making an effort but struggling from CVS to Walgreens to wherever he could to get a test.
He understands it. I mean, let's get with the program.
Democrats don't want it. Kim, but Democrats will say, look, that what they're saying is, well, we
9,585 new cases. That's the highest since the pandemic began. A 70% increase in new cases over just a week ago, and more than a 500% increase since Memorial Day. Now, the deaths are not spiking as high as the new cases. Some Florida officials say the reason the new cases have increased so dramatically is because of increased testing. More than 40,000 tests a day now in Florida.
If you compare overall cases in Florida to states like New York, we still only have 3,300 deaths compared to 31,000 deaths in New York. That's almost 10 times the amount of deaths. So,
the mayor of Miami has announced the beaches would be shut for the 4th of July holiday, and there is a new legal battle now over wearing masks. Hillsborough County in Florida tried to mandate the use of masks. They are now being sued by a state representative, Anthony Sabatini. He says the county of Hillsborough has simply overstepped itself. And finally, American Airlines announced no more social distancing on its flights. Those middle seats will no longer be blocked off, but be sold like all other seats as well. John, back to you.
Steve Harrigan from Atlanta. Steve, thanks. As we've been reporting, Vice President Pence is postponing his campaign events this week in Arizona and Florida as those states face recent spikes in coronavirus cases. The vice president will
in drug cases and other kinds of cases. But a lot of this stuff could have been worked out pretty easily. I guess the big difference is
when you shop with Wayfair, you spend less and get
We're going to leave it right there to my viewers. Good luck to all of us. As you can see, it's total chaos. Depending upon what news station that you listen to, one says the numbers are going up, while another one says the numbers are going down. One says it's not as bad as what they're calling for. One says it's worse than what they're saying. One is suing the other one because of overstepping their bounds, while another one is backlashing and slandering the other one because they didn't take proper precautions pertaining to the COVID-19 coronavirus. Then on the other hand, you have people that's protesting about the Confederate monuments and about the Confederate battle flag, and you got people that's seizing areas up in Seattle, Washington, and then you got defunding of police officers in various states and various cities and towns because their police officers isn't doing the right thing towards being transparent. Basically, what you got here is total chaos. Total chaos that if you don't watch and if you take all this stuff verbatim of the way that it's presenting itself right now, it'll basically put you into a madhouse. Put you into the Looney Tune house. Anyways, good luck to all of us and shalom to my viewers. And God bless.